It is essential to be up to date on happenings around you, and to make that easy for you, ladies and gentlemen, we present Freshlight, where we bring fresh newspaper headlines to the limelight. Mondays to Saturdays, 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Watch, like, subscribe, and make sure your notification is activated on our YouTube channel. You can also like and comment on our pages on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Good morning to you, wherever you're listening and watching us live on Facebook on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. It is the 17th day in the month of May 2023. A beautiful morning to you once again. Of course, the midweek edition of Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, where we'll take you through, keep you abreast of happenings around you while you are at work or at home or wherever you are watching us live from. My name is MODUPE. AKINYOSOYE. Good morning. And with me this morning, I have, as usual, a couple of newspapers which we will be perusing this morning. I have the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, I have the Daily Trust, I have the Daily Sun, I have the Punch newspaper, and of course I have the Vanguard newspaper with me. All right, we'll start with Daily Sun newspaper. Let's see stories that can see here in the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. On the front page, Senator will decide your fate. APC chairman tells Akpabio with a rider here, advises Akwa Ibom ex-governor not to be late on NAS inauguration day, confirms further consultation. You see that on page 6 in the Daily Sun newspaper. Away from that, we also have an headline here in the front page. Visa restriction, good news for democracy. Boala saying that with a rider that Fani Kayode condemns action. Page 28 give details to that very story. Deputy Speakership Benjamin Kalu faces hurdle as coalition one slot zoned to Ebonyi. You also get the details on page 27 in the Daily Sun newspaper. Also from the front page, you see an headline: Court remands Seun Kuti, gives 48 hours to police to complete investigation. Musician not charged yet. We only went to court for remand order, says police. And page 4 captures the details of that very story. And also, Southeast Senate presidency is for justice, fairness, and equity. You also get that details of the very story in the Daily Sun newspaper. And giving you a couple of stories from the Daily Sun newspaper. You see, senators will decide your fate. APC chairman tells Akpabio. With a rider advises Akwa Ibom ex-governor not to be late on NAS inauguration day, confirms further consultations. The national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC, Abdullahi Adamu, said the endorsement of former Akwa Ibom State Governor Godswill Akpabio as Senate President of the 10th National Assembly by the party's leadership does not translate to automatic victory for his aspiration. He stated this when Akpabio led a delegation of 40 senators-elect on a visit to the party's national secretariat in Abuja yesterday. And the APC had last week named Akpabio South-South from South-South, Jibrin Barao from Northwest, Tajuddin Abbas from Northwest, and Benjamin Kalu from Southeast as its preferred candidate for the positions of Senate President, Deputy Senate President, Speaker, and Deputy Speaker, respectively. Senators will decide your fate. APC chairman tells Akpabio. The rest of that story in Daily Sun newspaper. And a quick trip to Osun State. You also see a story here UniOsun inaugurates business school, vows to reduce unemployment. The Osun State University, UniOsun, has inaugurated a business school to address the problem of youth unemployment and address the challenges of the poor economy. The management of the university also appointed Professor Shio Oyefeso, a former provost of the College of Humanities and Culture, UniOsun Ikere campus, as the pioneer director of the business school. The appointment of Oye alongside the governing board of the school was made public by the chairman of the governing council of the institution, Yusuf Ali, senior advocate of Nigeria, on Tuesday. And in his remark, Ali expressed confidence in the composition of the board, commending the individuals from diverse backgrounds that made up the board. UniOsun inaugurates business school, vows to reduce unemployment. You get the details of that also in the Daily Sun newspaper. Away from the Daily Sun newspaper, let's see what we have in the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. From the Daily Trust, the real reasons Tinubu met with Kwakwanso ex-Emir Sanusi in Paris. With double riders writing on the front page, offers an MPP leader ministerial position, urges consultations as former Kano governor converses with ex-CBN governor. Page 4 graces the details of that very story. Also from the front page of Daily Trust, the National Assembly approves independent candidacy for elections. Away from that, you see North in self-imposed educational backwardness, says Adamu. And also from the Daily Trust front page, United States Embassy staff shot dead in Anambra. The rather sad one also you see in the Daily Trust. The Northwest deserves Senate presidency. This is also surfacing in the Daily Trust newspaper, the front page, of course. And going through the Daily Trust newspaper, see a couple of stories from here. Okay. From the Daily Trust, trying to get some of the stories from the Daily Trust newspaper. And from the Daily Trust, you see resident doctor strike illegal, says federal government. The federal government on Tuesday described the resident doctors' 5-day warning strike starting today as illegal. It said the National Association of Resident Doctors now did not give a 21-day notice as stipulated by the labor law. The spokesman of the Ministry of Labor and Employment, Olajide, in a chat with Daily Trust, said the NAD's letter was received by the minister on Tuesday, and he said the letter dated 15th May 2023 should have been sent long ago to give a 21-day notice. Resident doctor strike illegal, says federal government. Daily Trust newspaper captures that very story. And away from that, we also have the story Oshibajo task governors on digital economy. Vice President Yemi Oshibajo has advised governors-elect to invest in youth development towards attaining a digital economy in the nearest future. Oshibajo said this at the induction of governors-elect by the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, in Abuja on Tuesday, and he was represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa. Oshibajo said it was imperative to unleash the potential in the youth, which was about 75% of Nigeria's population, using technology. From the belly of the Daily Trust newspaper, you see the rest of that story with the headline, Oshibajo task governors on digital economy. And away from that, we also have a story from Kwara State. Kwara governor dissolves cabinet ahead of May 29. Governor Abdurrahman Abdurrazak of Kwara State has dissolved the State Executive Council at a valedictory function held on Tuesday at the Government House. The governor thanked members for their contributions to the success of the administration in the last 4 years. Then this came ahead of the May 29 inauguration of the governor for another term of office. Abdurrazak won his re-election at the March 18 governorship election in the state. And speaking at the event, the governor said they were also instrumental to the success of the All Progressives Congress, APC, in the 2023 general elections. And Commissioner for Local Government, Chieftaincy Affairs and Community Development, Al-IyamoyeTv, who spoke on behalf of his colleagues, thanked the governor and the people of the state for the opportunity given to them to serve. From the Daily Trust newspaper, Kwara governor dissolves cabinet ahead of May 29. And we also have a report here from the Daily Trust. White House reacting to the Anambra attack. White House speaks on Anambra attack. The White House has reacted to the attack on some staff of the U.S. consulate in Nigeria. And Daily Trust had reported how the convoy of the officials came under attack in Ogbaru local government area of Anambra State on Tuesday afternoon. And sources told the newspaper that at least 4 persons were killed in the incident. Corroborating the tragic incident at a press briefing, John Kirby, a White House spokesman, said no American citizen was killed. And the U.S. mission in Nigeria had earlier told Daily Trust that its personnel were collaborating with Nigerian security operatives to probe the incident. From the Daily Trust, White House speaks on Anambra attack. You also get the rest of that from the Daily Trust. Away from the Daily Trust, let's also peruse the front page of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Okay, I beg your pardon, the Vanguard newspaper. And from the front page of the Vanguard newspaper, we have federal government incurs 36.8 trillion naira deficit in 8 years under Buhari, carrying double riders. And you get the details on page 19 in the Vanguard newspaper. Away from that, you see 4 U.S. embassy staff killed in Anambra. That is also resurfacing on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. And of course, you get the details in the Vanguard on page 8. Away from that, you also see from the Vanguard, federal government establishes 13 metropolitan fire stations across Nigeria. On 10th National Assembly, come early, avoid Saraki like coup, Adamu tells Akpabio, Barau, and others. You also get the details of the Vanguard. Buhari baffled by pervasive level of corruption, says presidency. That also is in the front page. Emefiele's Naira redesign curbed terrorism. Adawa youth tell Matawali. You also get the details of that on page 12 in the Vanguard newspaper. Nivea secures 20 billion naira commercial paper upsize. Page 20 captures that very story. Away from that, you see on assault, court orders Seun Kuti's detention. The rest of that also in the Vanguard newspaper. Away from that, from the sport column relief in the front page, on the front page, Man City versus Real Madrid. Guardiola will need to play better to beat Real Madrid. So you also get that in the Vanguard newspaper. And quickly going through the Vanguard newspaper, let's see a couple of stories from the Vanguard. And you see stories, okay, we saw this in the front page. Federal government incurs 36.8 trillion naira deficit in 8 years under Buhari. With a rider records 32 trillion naira revenue, spends 68 trillion naira. The federal government has incurred a deficit spending of 36.8 trillion naira in 8 years under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari from 2015 to 2022. And Vanguard analysis of data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and federal government finances from 2015 to 2022 revealed that 77% of the deficit spending occurred in the last 4 years from 2019 to 2022. And the data revealed that total revenue for the 8 years stood at 32.05 trillion naira, while total expenditure during the period stood at 68.8 trillion naira, indicating deficit spending of 36.8 trillion naira. In the first 4 years, 2015 to 2018, the government recorded 13.9 trillion naira as revenue, but spent 24.3 trillion naira, resulting in deficit spending of 10.4 trillion naira. And however, the deficit spending jumped by 60% in the last 4 years, 2019 to 2022. From the business page of the Vanguard, federal government incurs 36.8 trillion naira deficit in 8 years under Buhari. Away from that, we also have here Buhari baffled by pervasive level of corruption, says presidency. The presidency said yesterday that President Muhammadu Buhari was baffled by the high-level corruption still prevalent in the country despite efforts made by his government to fight the milias. It, however, noted that the president was above scandal and had no account with corrupt money anywhere in the world. Special Assistant to the President of Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu, who stated this in an interview on Channel's television breakfast program yesterday, said, and I quote, "If you ask the president this question, why corruption is still rife in the country, it will equally tell you he is baffled by the fact that people who otherwise would have been in jail are riding their Rolls Royce and their aircraft roaming around." And he explained that under the Constitution, the president or the executive arm could only investigate and prosecute suspected corrupt persons. From the stable of the presidency, Buhari baffled by pervasive level of corruption. The rest of that in the Vanguard newspaper. And also we have the story from the Senate. Senate okays 451 million naira for 8 of 12 NDDC board members with double riders, passes 876 billion naira commissions 2023 budget, begins screening of Okumagba and others. The Senate has approved 451 million naira for aid to 12 members of Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, outside the provision for personnel costs, overhead costs, and internal capital. The approval of the 451 million naira for the 17 aid is out of the 2023 budget passed for the commission. And the Senate yesterday passed the 2023 budget of 876 billion naira for the NDDC, though NDDC did not provide breakdown of the provision for aid to board members, as the office of the chairman of the commission would gob 576 million naira in 2023 budget. Senate okays 451 million naira for 8 of 12 NDDC board members. We'll peruse the other newspapers we have right here on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio on Freshlight after this short commercial break. We'll be back. Stay with us.
Thousands have been deceived to seek greener pasture abroad. To those who are in the traveling agency business, it is a rocket science. That is not our case at Tausaf Travels and Tour. We have to successfully, without stress, help you process and secure your visa to anywhere in the world. Do you want residential visa, visiting and tourism visa, student visa to Europe, America, Asia, Africa? It's no big deal to us at Tausaf Travels and Tour. Our years of experience and expertise speaks volume for us. Let's process and secure visa for you to UK, USA, and Canada within a twinkle of an eye. We offer Hajj and Umrah to our Muslim faithfuls. What are you waiting for? Consult us at Tausaf Central Mosque, Sholanke Street, behind La Rotel, Abiola Way, Abeokuta. 0802 730900 or 578 4060. Stop wasting money. Pay for peace of mind. Talk to Tausaf Travels and Tour.
Thank you so much. You're still on to Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio, and we're still looking at different stories from the different newspapers we have in the studio this morning, and quickly perusing the front page of Nigerian Tribune newspaper. From the front page, you see Tinubu to open talks with G6, Yari, and others, with several writers rather than the front page, but the details of that on page 2 and 4 in the Nigerian Tribune. Also from the front page, you see Oyebode Kokori Ashaju to Tinubu says how to deliver good leadership and governance, and you get the details of that in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper, definitely on page 2 in the Nigerian Tribune. Also from the Nigerian Tribune, you get this headline: many escape as gunmen open fire on travelers along Ado Akure Road. Page 29 captures the very story. And a sad one here, also resurfacing on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune: gunmen kill 38, set many houses on fire in Plateau State. Page 28 captures that rather sad story. Away from that, you see Naira redesign grounded bandit activities in the north, Arewa youth. This is also being seen in the front page of Nigerian Tribune, but page 5 captures that very story. Away from that, you see Shehu Kuti arraigned, granted suspended bail. Page 8 captures that story. Away from that, you see Senate approves independent candidacy with rider forwards bill to Buhari for assent. Page 12 also has the details of that story. NERC to revoke license of Kaduna Disco over 51 billion naira energy underpayment. Page 6 has the details to the story. EFCC operative dies during scuffle with colleagues over suspect seized items. Also the rather unfortunate story on page 29 in the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Away from that, you also see Buhari presidency, a review in a certain column, page 13 to 20 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. And it's quickly going through a couple of stories from the Nigerian Tribune. Tinubu to open talks with G6, Yari and others, with riders dilemma over Jibrin. We will stand with Apabion, Jibrin, Ayadi and others, says. The story revealing that President-elect Senator Bola Tinubu has agreed to open discussions with aspirants on his party's platform who are aggrieved over the zoning template of the All Progressives Congress APC for the National Assembly leadership positions. A party source revealed to the Nigerian Tribune that all things being equal, the troubleshooting initiative at the instance of the president-elect could hold this weekend upon his return from his overseas trip. A coalition of aggrieved aspirants for the office of Speaker, House of Representatives under the platform of G7, which has since dwindled to G6, met with the APC National Working Committee, APC, last week to express their dissatisfaction over the choice of Tajuddin Abbas representing Zaria Federal Constituency of Kaduna State, that's Northwest, and Benjamin Kalu Bende Federal Constituency of Abia State, Southeast, as anointed candidate for Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Tinubu to open talks with G6, Yari and others. The Nigerian Tribune as the very story. Also from the Nigerian Tribune, you see the story on Naira redesign. Naira redesign grounded bandit activities in the north, says Arewa youth. Which a writer says Emefiele not materially meant well for Nigerians. A Northern group, Arewa Youth Assembly, has said the Naira redesign program initiated by the Central Bank of Nigeria grounded activities of the bandits in the north and stemmed the spate of attacks and of insurgents in the region. The group, in a statement signed by Alhaji Aliyu Sani, its publicity secretary, disclosed this in reaction to a statement credited to the Zamfara State Governor Bello Matawale, wherein he called for the arrest of CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele after the tenure of President Muhammadu Buhari on May 29. And the group, while defending the Naira redesign introduced by Emefiele, challenged Matawale to make public the number of persons kidnapped in Zamfara State when the Naira was not in excessive circulation and when the old notes were reintroduced following the Pyrrhic victory in court. Naira redesign grounded bandit activities in the north, Arewa youth, revealing from the Nigerian Tribune. And also from the Nigerian Tribune, Ngige to resident doctors, you are right to strike. Federal government has right to withhold your salaries. The federal government has warned members of the National Association of Resident Doctors not to shelve the planned 5-day warning strike, describing it as illegal. The Minister of Labour and Employment, Senator Chris Ngige, issued the warning on Tuesday night after I received a letter from the NAD executive notifying him of the impending industrial action bill to commence midnight, and which today, Wednesday. Ngige, in his reaction to the letter, said he has contacted the Minister of Health, who informed him that a meeting has been scheduled by his ministry with the resident doctors for Wednesday, 17th May 2023, and contained in a statement signed by Olajide, Director of Press and Public Relations. The minister advised the doctors to avail themselves of the opportunity for social dialogue with their employer rather than embarking on a warning strike, which is unknown to the law. The rest of that also in the Nigerian Tribune. Ngige to resident doctors, your right to strike. The federal government has rights to withhold your salaries. Away from that, let's see the Punch newspaper this morning before we call it a day on Freshlight on Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. From the front page of the Punch newspaper, you also see on strike, doctors shun talks, medical tourism gobs $3 billion in 3 years. You get that on page 2 in the Punch newspaper. Away from that, you see National Assembly leadership. APC want Apabio and Abbas against Offset. You also get that in the Punch newspaper, specifically on page 18. And Nigeria needs $12 billion to clean up oil spills. Report revealing that on page 20 captures the details. Strengthening anti-graft agencies, federal government advises Tinubu. Page 20 also captures the details to that very story. Army rewards 58 soldiers with bicycles and cash gifts. You also get the details of that in the Punch newspaper. Manufacturers threaten shutdown over excise duty hike. That is also revealing in the front page. And page 20 captures the story. Court remands Seun Kuti. Police come home for exhibit. Page 12 also captures that very story, also resurfacing in the front page of the Punch newspaper. And the Punch newspaper also took us to Anambra on the front page. Gunmen killed 2 U.S. consulate officials and 2 cars. You also get that on page 12 in the Punch newspaper. Going through just a couple of stories from the Punch newspaper, you see from the business page, Nigeria needs $12 billion to clean up oil spills, says report. Nigeria needs $12 billion to clean up decades-old oil spills in southern Bayelsa State over a 12-year period. A new report reviewed on Tuesday as it singled out 2 international, oil companies, Shell and Eni, for being responsible for most of the pollution. Oil factors in Nigeria have long faced legal challenges over Niger Delta spills, which they mostly blame on sabotage and vandalism of pipelines and illegal refining. The Bayelsa State Oil and Environmental Commission said in a report that it started an investigation in 2019 on the impact of spills and looked at evidence from forensic scientists, blood samples from people in affected areas, and company data. According to Reuters, the investigation discovered, among other findings, that toxic pollutants from spills and gas flaring were many times higher than the safe limit in samples of soil, water, air, and in the blood of local residents, and commission said. Nigeria needs $12 billion to clean up oil spills, report revealing that from the Punch newspaper. Away from the Punch newspaper, still with the Punch, I beg your pardon, strengthening anti-corruption agencies, federal government advises Tinubu. The federal government on Tuesday advised the incoming administration of the president-elect Bola Tinubu to strengthen anti-corruption and reform-minded agencies to effectively contribute to robust economic and public finance. Speaking in Abuja at the unveiling of the gender and environmental reporting frameworks for Nigeria's oil, gas, and mining sectors, the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, said anti-corruption agencies were well positioned to guide and shape government policies. And this came as she stated that the latest frameworks put together by the Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative would help in resolving the negative impact of oil, gas, and mineral exploration in host communities nationwide. Strengthen anti-corruption agencies. Federal government advises Tinubu, and the Punch newspaper as the story. And from the page of the Punch newspaper, we also have this from the Metro page. Kidnappers abduct Oyo farmer, demand 30 million naira ransom. The family of a cattle dealer, Olushola Ayonshola, has been thrown into confusion after kidnappers who abducted him along Laga Road in the Itesiwaju local government area of Oyo State demanded 30 million naira for his release. Punch Metro gathered that Ayonshola was returning from his farm around Alaga Road, close to radio station Otu Town, on Sunday evening when two gun-wielding kidnappers intercepted his motorcycle and shot sporadically into the air to scare motorists and passers-by. And thereafter, the farmer was whisked away into the bush, and efforts by his family members and security agents to locate his whereabouts proved abortive. Speaking with a correspondent, Ayonshola's son Olawale said the kidnappers contacted the family on Monday to demand 30 million naira ransom, adding that his father pleaded with him and his elder brother Emmanuel to find a way to raise the money because their abductors tied him down at a location in the bush. Kidnappers abduct Oyo farmer, demand 30 million naira ransom. The Punch newspaper captures the story. And also picking this one from the Punch newspaper, Lagos seeks more attention on boy child. Lagos State government, through its Domestic and Sexual Violence Agency, on Tuesday called for more attention on the boy child. The Executive Secretary, DSVA, Mrs. Titilola Vivo Adeniyi, made the call to commemorate the International Day of the Boy Child in some schools in the state. The celebration held through the agency's King's Club initiative was done Agidingbi Grammar School, Junior and Senior, Ujodu Junior High School, and Babs Fafunwa Memorial Senior Secondary School. And other schools include Ikeja Junior College, Abolade Junior Grammar School, Unity Junior High School, Immaculate Senior High School, and Mende Junior and Senior High School. The representatives of the agency were at the schools to speak with the students about mental health issues. From the Punch newspaper, Lagos seeks more attention on boy child. You also get that from the Punch newspaper. And away from that, just running it up with a sports story here from the Punch newspaper. And the Punch newspaper took us to Edo State. Edo Aquatic Board rolls out programs. The chairman, Edo State Aquatic Association, Clement, has expressed his association's readiness to roll out programs geared towards raising talent for the state and Nigeria. The former swimming champion for the defunct Bendel State said the association was ready for work, adding that they were in a hurry to place Edo water sports on the right track by discovering and developing athletes from the grassroots to international standard. From the sport pages of the Punch newspaper, Edo Aquatic Board rolls out programs. That will be all this morning on Freshlight on this definitely super down Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Al-IyamoyeTv and radio. I remain MODUPE. AKINYOSOYE. Do have a blissful day. Good morning.